Good evening, Central State alumni, friends, and honored guests. I am James Miles Lacking, a business major with the concentration in Management Information Systems, born and raised from the Gem City of Dayton, Ohio, currently serving as the 2023-2024 Mr. Senior at Central State University. I'm delighted to welcome you to the 2023 Giving Tuesday Virtual Alumni Panel. It's a privilege to have each of you with us tonight as we come together to celebrate the spirit of giving and reconnect with the exceptional alumni who have left an incredible mark on our community. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists. Each of them has graciously agreed to share their experiences with us today. These are outstanding individuals who not only achieved excellence in their respective fields, but also gave back to Central State in meaningful ways. Let's start with brief introductions. Panelists, please share a bit about yourselves and your connection to Central State University, a place that holds a special meaning for each of us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Claire Walker. I graduated from Central State University in 2020. I'm an environmental engineer major. Now I'm a graduate engineer for an engineering consulting firm here in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm also an adjunct professor here at Central State University as well.
Greetings, Centralians, Marauders, friends, and family. I am Taylor Hayes, a 2020 graduate of Central State University. During my time at Central, my major was business administration with a concentration in marketing. I held the positions of being a Dancing Belle Black Diamond, Miss Black and Gold 2017 2019, and the first ever Miss Senior for the Royal Court of 2019 2020. Now I am a real estate agent for the city of Dayton, Ohio.
Good day, everyone. My name is Brian Scotty Irving from the class of 1991. I served as Mr. Sociologist at Central State University. I oversee and run a company called Blue Sky Construction and Blue Sky Development, as well as Irving Development right here in Washington, D.C.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cameron Barnes. I was at Central State from 2016 to 2020. During my time at Central State, I was sophomore class president. I'm not going to try to tell you the years, but sophomore class president, junior class sergeant at arms, Mr. College of Business, assistant to the dean of land grant programs, and an associate minister at Interfaith Campus Ministries. I currently serve as the National Youth Director of the Rainbow Push Coalition with Reverend Jesse Jackson at our headquarters in Chicago. I've been a political candidate in the 2023, the youngest candidate in the city of Chicago municipal election, and currently transitioning into Chicago public schools. So I love Central State.
Hi, my name is Christine Townsell. I'm a 1974 graduate of the College of Business Administration. I am a retired individual as of 2022. My background was in business. I owned a business, and I also was a labor relations representative for Ford Motor Company. I retired as an educator, working over 25 years. I'm happy to be here at last. Thank you.
As we delve into our discussion, I'll be posing questions to our esteemed panelists, offering insights into their experiences at Central State University and the profound impact that it had on their careers and their philanthropic pursuits. To our fantastic audience, if you have any questions during our conversation, please don't hesitate to share them in the chat. We'll do our best to address them toward the end of the panel. The first question will be presented to Cameron. And the question is, how has Central State University's education influenced your career and the choices you've made in your professional life?
You know, what I learned at Central State is almost invaluable altogether, really. It's a myriad of life lessons that I took from the campus. But one of the most particular things is when I pledged Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in the spring of 2018. One of our mandated programs is voter registration, education, and reclamation. And my first voter registration that I did was on campus at Central State University as an undergraduate student. Of course, when I got to Ohio, I changed my voting address to the Ohio address, the Central State address. Students don't know that you can vote at the school that you go to with the address of the school if you live on campus. And fast forward to what I do now, of course, now I'm running for office at 24 years old. I was just at Central State literally last Monday registering students to vote again as a graduate student. So, you know, the lessons that I learned from Central State really allowed me to find my passion and what I wanted to do, uh, monetize it, make a career out of it. And my marketing degree that I got out of the College of Business really taught me how to market myself as a product and a service. And I've been able to take advantage of it all across the country from what I learned at Central State.
Thank you. Next question, Ms. Christine. In a rapidly evolving job market, what skills and knowledge do you believe are most valuable for today's students to succeed?
In this environment, the skills that I think they should have is problem solving skills, teamwork, and critical thinking skills. Problem solving skills they need to learn how to look at a task and find an efficient way to complete the task. Critical thinking skills are needed so that they can have the ability to question, evaluate, reason, and the teamwork. You have to have the qualities to work in a collaborative effort. You have to have empathy. You have to be an honest person and respectful to your teammates. And I also have one more thing that I wanted to say about the skills that students need is communication. And communication is not only written, it's speaking, it's also your body language.
Thank you for that insight. Next question will be proposed to Scotty. Can you share your most memorable student experience at Central State University and how it impacted your professional and personal growth?
Yeah, so I think I was a little bit older when I got to college campus, and my perception of the world was a little bit different. It was just meaningful to meet Mr. Lewis and Dr. Lewis and Amos Martin, Dr. Crockett, and those individuals helped shape the person that I became on campus. Getting to know people from all over the United States was another thing that I think helped me to become the person I am today, knowing that everybody didn't have everything that I had or was doing everything I was doing. And it gave me a great perception to see the whole America from the perspective that everyone was unequal. And at Central State, in sociology, I got a chance to learn that and see it play out. And that helped me today in my business.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, what advice would you give to your current students to make the most of their time on campus and create a lasting connection?
The advice I would give to current students is to just go for it. You never know unless you try, and Central State is the place to fail, succeed, try new things, step out of your comfort zone. If you never try, you never know what you're capable of. I never, in a million of years, imagined myself becoming a pageant queen. When I got to Central and I knew there was an opportunity, my friends pushed me into it. I was completely terrified of the opportunity. And then once I went through the pageant and I won, I saw a brand new side of myself that made me able to come out of my shell, get into new things, especially expose me to different cultures.
Ms. Jasmine, next. How did Central State University foster a sense of belonging and community during your time as a student?
Yes. So, a little backstory about myself. I went to a predominantly white high school back in Akron, Ohio, and I went there during a pivotal moment of history, especially in the Black community. Um, Trayvon Martin got murdered. Um, Obama won his second term in office. Um, Michael Brown got killed. There were so many things that happened. Um, and you would think that going to high school would be like a safe space for you to be in, but every day was a battle, especially for somebody that looked like me. And during that time when I was at Central, or when I was about to apply to Central, I did a program for a summer transportation institute back in 2013, I believe. And that welcoming vibe, the people that I met, my mentors, the people that I still call my mentors to this day, they welcomed me with open arms. And not only did they do that, they invested into me that other people were not willing to do, at that institution that I was at. And they were able to hear me, who I was as a person, not what I looked like, and made sure that I had opportunities that I could, make as lifetime memories. So they're the family that I never knew that I needed, and I definitely appreciate them to this day, because of Central State University, I would never think that I would be in the position that I am in today as an engineer, as a person that gives back, um, as a person that just goes above and beyond for the people that made me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Now back to Mr. Cameron. Can you share some memorable campus life experiences from your time at CSU and how they've influenced your life?
Um, Sticking with that voting rights piece and sticking with, of course, the area that I fell into, I never will forget when I was registering people to vote on Central State's campus as a fresh neophyte of Omega Psi Phi. There was an election coming up in Ohio. And again, I had registered, so I wanted to get all my other friends registered and people. There were so many young people on the campus that said, I'm not going to register to vote. I don't want to vote. I don't care about voting. Voting doesn't really matter. And being able in those situations to sway people to understand the importance of their vote was something that I learned at Central State. Of course, I have been mentored by Reverend Jesse Jackson since 2015, but even still, I was in the heat of it, and Reverend Jackson was nowhere around to give me the answer or anything. He was in Chicago, but I was able to use the critical thinking skills, the communication skills that Miss Christine mentioned, all of those kinds of skills to convey the importance of that which we were doing. So that's something I'll never forget, because I really learned how to do this politics thing and this voter registration thing at Central State. And so to be able to come back and do it 5 years later as a postgraduate is amazing, because the hunger now, instead of me having to go to them when I was a student in 2018, we had students coming to our table to understand the importance of voting, to register to vote. So I never will forget that. And then I'll never forget when I lost. I mentioned that I ran for sophomore class president and won, but I had run for, and Taylor, I'm sure, remember, I had run for freshman class president and I lost. And it was a time where I thought, because I ain't gonna front. I came to Central State slightly arrogant, thinking that I'm gonna run and I can do all these different things. I know politics and all of that, and it humbled me to understand how to really work with other people, even when you don't win. I would have never learned that unless I had gone to Central State, run for office, and then did not win, and then still had to work alongside our freshman class president. And it just taught me the humility, the humbleness, getting back up, trying it again. And I did run again in sophomore year and won. So I would have never learned those kinds of skill sets, how to problem solve, how to critically think, how to communicate, how to teamwork and team build, if I had not done those different things at Central State University.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, Ms. Taylor, how do you envision the campus environment evolving over the next decade to better meet the future needs of students?
I envision the campus community listening more to the students. You won't be able to address the need of the students if you're not listening to them. This year, I have been extremely proud to see the students at the forefront of what Central is doing. If the university can continue to pour into our students, there's no telling how much further our university can go in evolving our students to be better people in the community, better business personnel, better construction workers, better whatever their dreams inspire to be. But we have to invest more into what the students really desire for their Central State University experience.
Agreed 100%. Next, Ms. Jasmine. What was the significance of Central State University's campus life in shaping your college journey, and how do you think it benefits today's students?
For me specifically, as a STEM student, they didn't play games. I would have a professor call me, Dr. Jai Majebi. He would call me if I was late to his class, like, "Hey, you need to be here. You have a test today, ma'am." So that those are the type of relationships that some of my professors had with me and my other peers. And the reality is you will not get that anywhere else. I went to PWI. I got my degree from one. They don't do that. So you know they, again, the investment piece. Central State invests in you because they know your potential. They know what you can do and what you are capable of. So use that confidence, that grind, that grit that you gain from Central State University, those relationships, in order to better yourself. Because if it wasn't for Central State, I would not be, again, in the positions that I am today, or just have the knowledge to and the confidence in myself to be in an engineering field, deal with the microaggressions that I face as a Black woman in STEM and engineering. Um, they they molded me into the woman that I am today, especially in this field, because they don't play games, and you need that in the society that we live in, especially in the science industry. So.
Thank you. Mr. Scotty, how can the university continue to enhance the student experience through campus activities, clubs, and organizations?
I think that was very, let me just say I'm very impressed by everybody's story, and it just motivates me to continue to be a part of the give back process. But I think the campus will continue or must continue to elevate and innovate itself. I see its new dormitories and new buildings on campus, but I think that we must continue to make sure that we're technically savvy and technically innovative. I love the part about Central State being in the middle of what I called, when I got there, nowhere, right? And that's what a lot of students need. They need to be able to come to a place outside of urban areas to be able to settle in. And I know for me, that was one of the most important parts, that the campus don't change too much to resemble what urban areas look like and continue to look like Central State University. And I think that that's something that the campus need to really understand and really take advantage of the landscape that it have and the environment that it sits in. Thank you.
Ms. Christine, can you share a pivotal moment or event from your time at Central State University that helped shape your values and goals?
Well, my pivoted moment would be April 3rd, 1974 at 4:30 p.m. when I was coming from campus, driving on the Highway 35, and a police highway patrolman stopped me, ran in front of me. I thought I was speeding, but I was not. He pulled over in front of me, made me stop. I parked my car. He grabbed me out of the car and he shouted, "Get out, get out, get out." I got out of the car. He ran with me behind my car. We fell in a ditch. And as I looked ahead, I saw a gray smoky cloud and I saw particles dropping from the sky. After that it was over, I was told it was a tornado. When I could not drive my car, I walked back to the outskirts of Xenia, the downtown area of Xenia. It was completely destroyed. To me, if you guys know about the Twilight Zone, it looked like the Twilight Zone. So I managed to make my way back to one of my friend's apartments. And when I got news on Central State's campus, I learned that 86% of the campus was destroyed. And the tornado winds were over 300 miles per hour. And during that time, they had rating of, it had a rating of F6, and it was an inconceivable tornado. What influenced me during that time was Dr. Lionel Newsom. He stood up as a fierce leader, and he spoke and talked about what he believed in, what government should do, and for our campus to uh, build our campus back up to the way it was. And I admired that. And thanks to his strong leadership, that's the leadership that I am taking in my life. I took in my life.
Thank you for sharing that experience. Next, this section will be open to all the panelists, so if you would like to speak, feel free to. To everyone, how did Central State University encourage community, engagement, and volunteerism during your time as a student, and how did that experience influence your commitment to service?
As a student leader, you didn't have the option of holding a position of being a leader and not serving your campus community. And I believe that personally for me, that holding a position and being taught that service is not an option, it's a requirement, has carried me into my professional career. Any opportunity that I have to give back to the students, I do. Anytime I have an opportunity to give back to my community, I do. And it's not because I want to be seen. It's not because, oh, what about me? It's because there are others who are hurting, especially in the environment that we're living in. We see the trouble. We see how everyone is being affected day to day. And we saw it when we were on campus looking at our brother and sister that was going to class or missing class because of their own personal situations. And we were there to help them during that. So, how can you not do that as a professional, seeing what you saw on campus and now in the real world?
Yeah, I think that Central, like I said, I came to Central with a different perspective. Central, I coming from Washington D.C. at the time, Central gave me a chance to slow myself down. Before I got to Central, I had started two companies um, right after high schooling, before I went to college, and they was both successful. I had a different perspective on life, and getting to Central State, it slowed me down to understand the whole universe. And to meet people from Ohio, meet people from Detroit, people from Chicago, and that wasn't living my life and my lifestyle. So Central helped me evolve. I would say a true story, but a funny story. When I left Central State, I got rid of so much material goods that I thought was important. I arrived at Central State, just honestly speaking, with all the material goods that any human being of my age should have and more. And I decided that once I left Central State was to slow that down and not to encounter or purchase too many material goods and start giving back in my community. And I think since I've been in business over the last 18 years, we have put back close to $2 million back into the community of Washington, D.C., whether that be in cash or different, making sure that every Christmas, 400 or 500 kids have bikes, making sure that we have created what's called an Ethel now. It's a permanent placement housing for 100 women in D.C. We built an 801 men's shelter, which is 400 units for men to have a bed every night. So Central State and Dr. Dalzine and Mr. Martin and Dr. Lewis, I mean, they was grown men that humbled me. I heard the word earlier, talked about being humbled. Central State humbled me in so many ways to become the man that I am today. It's just overwhelming. So whenever I have a chance to give back, the class of 91 came up and they was like, hey, just take the baton and run with it from the class of 90. We took that baton and ran with it and made sure that we can put as much back as we could as far as people and dollars. And I will continue to do that for the rest of my life. It's just, I would not be here without Central State University and their commitment and the men and the women I met on that campus. So it all comes from Central, and it's been this important role of my life.
Thank you for sharing. The next question on the floor is, What role can universities play in fostering a culture of community service and social responsibility among students?
Um, I think, like Taylor mentioned, uh, when you have student leaders during our time, of course, you couldn't be a student leader, like she mentioned, without having some form of community service, without having another era, so to speak, another lane to your quote unquote leadership. You know, when I was sophomore class president and Tierra Herndon was, what was I, Mr. College of Business? Tierra Herndon did a whole lot together, but we fostered this grocery giveaway that was in the Ward Park. Not only did we support students that needed the groceries, but then people from Xenia began to come in as well because we realized that we may be in a bigger food desert than we think. You know, everybody that goes to Central knows it's only Kroger and Walmart that's there to shop. I mean, you ain't going nowhere else unless you go outside of Xenia. But we, with the support of the university, had that to come on a bi-weekly basis, and we were giving groceries to all of the students, anyone who came up there. But as well as also with Interfaith Campus Ministry, I have to shout out Pastor Kimma Cunningham because I love her so much. But even at IFCM, when they got support from the university, they were able to do different things. I remember us going out one Veterans Day, as we on the back end of Veterans Day this year, we made cards and we went to a veterans hospital, and we went around in it might have been in Dayton, I believe, and encourage those people. There's a time of year where Interfaith Campus Ministry gives out the washing supplies. They give out laundry. They give out detergent. They give out rolls of quarters. I don't know if they still using quarters to wash on campus. They shouldn't be, but that's neither here nor there. But with the support of the university, we was able to do a whole lot as student leaders. And I think that if and when the university begins to invest more in the student leaders that are those who become role models to their friends, to give them the space and the creative space to do more community service, it then attracts all of the other student body. Because when you see the bros doing it, when you see the alphas, the AKAs, when you see the Royal Court, when you see SGA, when you see everybody that has quote unquote stature on campus in a leadership position doing service, it brings a whole multitude with them. So I just think this the university can continue to support student leaders, and it's all right to even make it mandatory that you need to do a service learning project. You need to do community service every semester.
That's it.
The responsibilities of students that I think not only doing community services, but actually joining some type of organization on campus, whether it's a Greek organization or a club. You guys are doing a lot of things that are different from what I did as when I was on campus some almost 50 years ago. But what students can currently do is have a real talk. I hear sometimes with the young adults saying that they can't meet mates or they're having problems with that. Real talk forums with men and women on campus, I think, will help contribute to getting some understanding about that. And in addition, going outside of Central State's campus to volunteer, whether it's in Wilberforce or Xenia or Dayton, to volunteer in some of those nonprofit organizations around there. And that's my spill.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I think that Taylor, go ahead.
In addition to that, myself, Cameron, and Jasmine, we were all under President Emeritus Dr. Cynthia Jackson Hammond, and under her leadership, our tenets were protocol, service, and civility. And so service was required not of just the student leaders, but it was a standard across campus. And it starts with just picking up the cup that's on the ground. It starts with just opening the door for someone who's coming behind you. And so the moment that it becomes a culture of service to one another, then it will continue to flourish for the rest of the community.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go
with
ahead. Go ahead.
with being with the community service, I think one thing that is being said in this conversation is the intention. Being
Mm,
intentional with what you do, because it is the right thing to do. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? When we, give back into our community, as far as being a staff member, an adjunct professor, as being an alumni, it is the right thing to do because at the end of the day, the students are us, and we always wanted that helping hand. So having that intention of giving back and helping the students, especially because they are where we used to be,
mm,
especially less than a couple years ago. We knew what was needed. We knew that giving back was important. We knew that we needed a pipeline. We knew that we needed jobs. We knew that we needed, a voice for us because some students don't have that voice. um Being intentional when we give back goes a long way. And it could just be a conversation. It could be monetarily. It could be giving a student an internship at your firm because they never had an internship before, and that's going to help build their career as soon as they get out of Central State.
yeah.
So,
I agree. I agree 100% with all the words that were said. And I think it need to be a combination of all of them put together for Central
mhm,
State to process it, right? Without AI, and process it and say, hey, this is how we get this done for our kids, and our young kids, right? And I think that's critically important. And that's probably why the campus was so beautiful going back to homecoming this year, because of this, what you guys have learned about, because there was nothing on the ground, there was nothing anywhere, and I noticed that, and it was beautiful to see all that. But I would say that we also need to become a university that create entrepreneurs. um, we know that when we look at the unemployment rate, we look at critical paths in our community, it's because we asking somebody else to hire us, right? And we need to stop asking somebody else to hire what we teach and what we make and what we create. And I'm just telling you, it's not just Central State, it's all across HBCUs. We educate people to go to work for somebody else that don't want them, right? We need to educate our kids to become entrepreneurs, to be able to take advantage of the trillions of dollars, trillions of federal funds that's available to this country. And we must move in that fashion, in that direction. So when we talk about alumni coming back, giving back, this is how it's done. That we have created the space for them to accelerate in, share communication with each other, as was said earlier, and then move forward on our university if we plan to be around for the next 120 years, which we do. So that's what we must continue to create in our communities and at Central State University.
Thank you all for stressing the importance of service and giving back to our community, which also leads into the next question of how has your community service experience contributed to your personal and professional development, and what advice can you offer to the current students interested in service projects?
I think for me specifically, I have the yearn to always give back after I graduated. I didn't know what that looked like. Um, as a graduate engineer, um, being new into my engineering consulting firm. So, you know, as soon as I got the job, landed the job, my first goal was trying to get somebody else from Central State to be in the door too, so that they can have the opportunity, have an internship, have a job, literally something, like an offer, as soon as they graduated after life after Central State. And you know, the people at my job, they saw that I was intentional. They saw that I wanted to get connected to more HBCUs because the reality is it's only one person that looks like me in my office, or it's only me that looks like me in my office. And I wanted to have the idea of my giving back would be extending that pipeline to this industry, this hardcore industry of science, back to my institution. Um, Moving forward, that led to me now leading the Black employees across Canada and the United States at my job. And one of our core foundations that we're striving for 2024 is to increase our presence at HBCUs. So that looks like resume writing. interviewing, because there's a need for that. So I think I had this picture perfect idea of what I wanted giving back to look like, but I was optimistic and I knew how I wanted to morph that story, especially with my experience and especially me knowing the need that was at Central State University as well.
Going off of
Excuse
what,
me, was the question is how,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Going off of what Jasmine said, I agree. It makes you your personal well, my personal service has made me want to give back to those who are going through the same struggle. So that way that it gets a little bit easier for the next person that wants to get into the field, especially for real estate. I get a real estate from the National Association of Realtors every month, and I have had my license for 2 years. I have never seen a person of color on the front of that magazine. As a as a black real estate agent in the city of Dayton, I have had quite a few clients or potential clients tell me that they don't want my help because of the color of my skin. And so the desire to not only educate the community on how to buy homes, on how to rent, on how to invest, how to flip, and then bringing students or just individuals, young people into the industry so that it's no longer a question of, oh, am I going to be able to find an agent of color, or how can we be into real estate? How can I invest in real estate and grow my wealth for not just me, but the generations that are going to come behind me? It's all about just bringing the next person up with you because we need the help. And if we don't help them, who will?
Thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah, 1 second. And to Miss Christine's point, I'm sorry. Was y'all doing some
Oh, go
updating
ahead.
or whatnot? Real quick though, just was saying how that service contributes to your personal and professional development. One thing I have to say to students is you have to go into service all the time with an open mind and an open heart, because times the service that we do, in many cases, the service that people do are not many times the services that they themselves take advantage of. Like me giving away turkeys, my family can buy a turkey. Me giving away meals to students after school. You know, I was oblivious to the fact that some students only eat at school. I never knew it. I just because it just wasn't my plight. And thankfully, I was blessed in that manner. But going into service, it helps your personal and professional development understand the art of inclusiveness, how to include someone without excluding them, how not to label someone, how to understand being empathetic and not sympathetic. Sympathetic, feeling sorry for someone, but empathetic, really putting yourself in their shoes and understanding the help that they need. You wouldn't talk about more people if you were empathetic. You wouldn't make a lot more jokes if you were empathetic and not sympathetic. So the service for any student that wants to get into service learning projects and serving the community, always go with an empathetic mind and an open heart and an open mind, because you're going to learn some things that you did not know were everyday struggles for someone else, because it's not an everyday struggle for yourself.
Thank you for that. The next question. As alumni, what role do you think can play in contributing to the development and success of our current CSU students?
As an alumni, I would say you lead by example, number one. For example, I was cruising through the Central State site, and I think a sorority stated that they adopt their room, which gave me a good idea that while I was on campus this past homecoming, I went to visit my freshman dorm, and I met the house director there. So I decided, my room number was 241. I decided to adopt a student in that classroom to meet some of the needs that they need to be successful throughout this school year. Also, I have a group of 12 women who we call ourselves the Tenacious 10. We are 1974 graduates. We all traveled together. We've maintained friendship over some 50 years. So what we've decided to do is to adopt that whole dorm, Williamson Hall, and to contribute monetarily. We want to come back to speak to the students, to talk to them about campus life, real world matters, and share with them our experiences. And so I think as alumni, that's what we should do: lead by example and step out.
In addition to being an example, I think it's also our role to be a support system for the, not just for the students, but for also Central State University. It's our duty to continue to be a part of our alumni associations in our respective states or in cities. It's our duty to continue to come back for class reunions and do whatever the donation is that's asked of our class officers, to continue to donate to students. I've had the opportunity to give out a total of 10 care packages this year, including donating one to the Holistic Health Expo of Miss Central State University. And it's just our job to continue to help them matriculate through Central State University, to let them know that they're not alone during this time, because it can feel extremely lonely, especially for those who travel far and wide to come to Central State University. To continue to be a support, not just to the students, but to the university as a whole. That is our role as alumni.
Can I add, not only like giving back as far as like the donations and stuff like that, but please, outside of homecoming, just visit. I can't tell you how many times, I understand people's schedules, are hectic. We have lives, we have families. But just the simple act of coming in and speaking at an organization, speaking at a class, any of those, is such a um it's such a moment. I had a student walk up to me after I helped prepare them to go to a conference, an engineering conference earlier this year, and he was like, "It's so good to see you, because you were a senior and I was a freshman, and you came back and you showed me that I could do it too, because I haven't seen that before." And that definitely like opened my eyes, because even when I was in the engineering classes, I didn't see some of the people that recently graduated come back. They got their jobs and they just kept it pushing. We have to show the students that it is possible. You can get a job, you can get where you want to be as soon as you graduate. So
And showing them that it's not just a straight line to success. It's a journey, and it's going to be highs and lows to it. I also got the same sentiments when I came for visiting alumni day, and so
Yes,
many students
yes.
were just, they were bright eyed to see someone so young, so recent of a grad, come in the room and talk about how they're still going, still striving, because life is not just a straight line. And I think it's so important that young alumni, the older generations are giving back. They are consistent in their giving back. But younger alumni, it's really our turn to start stepping up to the plate and being there for the institution who they gave us the world, because eventually those older generations will not be
Yeah.
around. And it's going to be our responsibility to show up for our university and keep our university standing tall like the clock tower. We keep talking about clock tower resilience, but no one is showing up like Central State showed up for us. I'm going to leave it there.
And don't forget to, while we're giving back, don't forget to join your local alumni associations.
Yes.
Yeah. Jasmine and Taylor are absolutely correct. And the last thing I would add is just, man, be available. Even if it's not, if you can't get to the campus, like she said, you got all these different kind of things. I got so many people that hit me on Facebook Messenger, they hit me on Instagram or whatever. Anytime any Central State student, either current or past, hits me up, I make it my business to respond to them. And just a week ago, when I was on campus, when I was talking about doing this voter registration, I ran into the calf because I wanted to get my pink lemonade and raspberry iced tea mix. Is something that y'all, I'm just saying, it was when I was there at the campus, you had to get it every day. You got to get it every day. Pink lemonade mixed with raspberry tea. But I ran into the calf because I was like, I ain't been here in about 2 or 3 years because I haven't been to homecoming often. One of the students who was a freshman when I left, in 2020 came up to me, like she said, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so happy to see me, and just needed some advice. And I was right there in the middle of the caf as folks is having lunch and everything, trying to give him the advice to keep going because he was at a crossroad and he didn't know really what to do at all. And I remember him as a freshman when I was there and just being available to talk to somebody, even giving them some kind of
Mhm.
advice. If you don't have no money, your experience can help somebody else go much, much further. So, like Taylor said, you got to show up for those who showed up for you. And no, it's not particularly that student that showed up for you, but it was you had an upperclassman as a freshman that told you something that got you through your 4 years. Now you're that upperclassman, you're that postgraduate, you're that alum that owes this next generation some piece of advice about how to navigate through the middle of nowhere, like Scotty said.
As a current college student, I can agree that having alumni present is very, very important throughout our years at college. So now the last question that will be proposed. In your opinion, what makes Central State University stand out as a unique institution for higher education?
I think it's something that cannot be duplicated. I think that I heard it talked about earlier, that one-on-one relationship that you get from your professors at Central State. Honestly, we could talk about the technology and talk about the books, but it was the love that somebody told you once before. Somebody told us, hey, not only did I let you in, but I let you out, right? And that meant that it was some of us that probably couldn't get into other colleges, but was able to get into Central State and earn our way to get a degree and to go on to challenge the world. So I think that for me, it was that special being able to have that one-on-one relationship um, with a male or a female professor that took the time to say, why wasn't you in class today? Um, I see you going into the library. That's good to see. I don't see you in the back gym as much as often. That was good to know, right? So it's those one-on-one relationships that we was able to get at Central State that I was able to get from Dr. Dowsing and Dr. Martin and Mr. Lewis, Dr. Chapman, Dr. Dowsing. And it's sad to say that I think out of the 7 names that I'm talking about, 6 of them have passed on. And I cannot tell you how special they were to me, that I was able to talk to each one of them, wife or kid, that they had after they passed on, and still exchange letters today with them, and to make sure that they transition peacefully and let the family know that their significant other played a significant role in my life and the person that I became. And they saw me pass books. That was important, for somebody to see you pass a book, to know that you will become a better man or a better woman beyond a book that they was teaching from. So it was, I can't express the love that I received at Central. So I'm just so thankful and so humbled by it all.
I believe what sets Central State University apart is our history. Anytime you hear the story of the 1974 tornado, you're instantly encouraged by hearing that the only thing left on campus was the clock tower, and we rebuild, and then to know that Central is still running today. I think that is an inspirational story that I know it inspired me 4 years before I even became a student at Central State University. So to have a history like that, and to have a monument such as the clock tower that you can look at every day as you're going to class, and no matter what you're going through, no matter what storm you're weathering at the time, no matter how dark the hole is, you can look at that clock tower and say, if a building can stand, what makes me think that I can't myself?
The most unique thing of course, about Central State, I know Taylor already talked about it. To me, that clock tower resilience and all of those different things, that which it symbolizes, is personal for me because the tornado was April the 3rd. Miss Christine said in 1974. I was born April the 3rd, 1998. So to the exact day, and nobody could have known, of course. I'm born in 98. Nobody's thinking about where I'm going to college. I get to Central State. There's the connection to it. You're going to find some kind of connection to your own life story at Central State. Everybody that goes to HBCU, we talk about it all the time, thinking the environment, and the professors will call you and all of that. So one could argue that you may get that at any HBCU. At Central State, though, not only do you get that, but you get a connection that you're going to take literally with you for the rest of your life. A story, a friend, or whatever that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life. Central State has people now that have become closer to me than even some of my own family members, if we're being very, very honest. Faculty members that poured into you way beyond the call of duty as just a professor, way beyond the call of duty as just a member of the administrative staff. They take to you like their own son, their own daughter, niece, nephew, grandchild, all of those different things. And the connections that you'll get at Central State to your own life, you'll find out why you got to Central State, and that story had been being written for years and years and years, far beyond you even knowing, because nobody but God could have, of course, let me come in April the 3rd, 98, and then get to Central State. And it's like the clock tower resilience that you're talking about was April the 3rd, 1974. You were supposed to be here, Cameron.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
the connection that you will get, crazy. Miss Christine, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's so inspiring to hear you all speak. I was there 50 years ago, and you're getting the same things that I got. I want to share with you that you're right about faculty inviting you to your home. I had a faculty member who had made great sweet potato pie, and she'd invite us over for sweet potato pie on the weekends. I would go to dinner, get home cooked meals. But my mentor, you all, was Edith O. Johnson. Edith was the granddaughter to Booker T. Washington, and her godfather was George Washington Carver. And I had the opportunity, and even my children, as I graduated, I brought my children up to her home where I saw her researching. And because of her, I learned how to research historically. And so those are the richness and the things that you get for Central State. Other than its location, I think it is the only Black institution that is north of the Mason-Dixon line, I think. So I am so proud that I went to Central State. That is my love, my home, and it is my extended family.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with everyone said. I think again, as everybody mentioned, one thing that makes Central State different is the stories. You know, we have people that graduated 50 years ago last year, and we all have our own stories, but it's all on the sacred ground that, makes Central State what it is. And I think you'll never get that anywhere else. I know you can't, because I just know you can't. So, Central State has made such an impact, and since Central State is where it is, and like there's nothing really around it in the area, we had to make something out of nothing. And I think that is something that I kept in my mind. You have to make something out of nothing, and you have to be creative. You have to figure it out. And I just use those moments from Central State to figure it out. If it gets tough, figure it out. So
I wanted to add one last thing. I don't know how many of you all attend the alumni breakfast this past homecoming, But our Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, in 1973, graduate, was there. She asked the alumni to write letters to her telling your stories about Central State University so that she can post them and the other senators, the Congress people can read them to know that Central State does and is existing.
Thank you all. I can agree that Central State's resilience and perseverance is completely unmatched. As we conclude this enlightening discussion, I want to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed panelists for generously sharing their insights and experiences with us today. Central State University has undeniably played a pivotal role in shaping their journeys, and it is truly inspiring to witness how they've given back to our beloved alma mater. Before we part ways, I'd like to emphasize that Giving Tuesday provides us with a unique opportunity to give back to Central State University. Whether through donations, mentorship, or supporting our current students in various ways, your contributions are invaluable and directly impact the lives of our students and the future of our university. Would you guys like to give any closing remarks to the audience?
One closing remark that I have is it's not a straight shot to success. Continue to be the best that you can be. Continue to go, be ambitious, put your best foot forward. It's not, as Taylor mentioned, it's not a straight shot after graduation in some cases. So you'll get 1,000 no's before you get that yes. But when you do get that yes, put 110% effort into everything that you do.
I want to leave you all with, if you're dreaming it, be your dream. Be the dream.
Okay, well, let me. I would leave you with the very quote that was hanging up in one of the professor's offices that I read one time at Central State and never forgot it my entire life. It's an African proverb that says, "A lion wakes up." You all know it. Every morning, the lion wakes up and it knows it must run faster than the slowest gazelle, or it will starve. It won't eat that day. And then every morning, a gazelle wakes up and knows that it must outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. And in the morning, doesn't matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle, but when the sun comes up, you better be running. And all the time that has stuck with me, doesn't matter if you're the lion or the gazelle, if you're running to something, from something, whatever it is, every morning you get up, you better be running. Running to your dream, running to make it a reality, do all of that. You better be running. And of course, I got to leave off with for God, for Central, for State.
To the current Marauders, I pray that you never give up. Continue to strive, try new things. Central State is the place that is open to you to fail, to succeed, to try new things, to travel, do everything that your university offers. I know that it afforded me the opportunities that I have, and you have, if not more, the same opportunities that I had while I was on campus. To alumni, I pray that you open your hearts to give and to be there for the current students. They need you in more ways than just one. And you being there will help them in their careers and their lives and on their way through the community through their journey on campus. To Marauders, one more thing I have to say. President Hammond said one thing to me. She said, Central State might not be your first, second, or your third choice, but Central State is your best choice. So take full advantage of it.
I really don't know what else to say other than I really enjoyed being a student at Central State University. It was amazing. And I'm so thankful that I attended Central State University. And I'm just thankful I got to meet everybody today. And I definitely 100% plan on always giving back to my alma mater. Without it, I don't know where I would be. So I'm so thankful.
And of course, we're going to do as a collective for
For
God,
God,
for Central,
for State.
for State. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you once again for being a part of this meaningful conversation. Your continued dedication to Central State University is deeply appreciated. Wishing you all a wonderful Giving Tuesday, and may our alma mater continue to prosper and inspire generations to come.